Hey everyone, recently I've been having a problem with the 386 chip, the JRC 386D specifically, and it's pin compatible with the LM386, and I built this circuit a few months ago, but I've been getting kind of loud. Well, the power output's relatively fine, but when you're in like a crowd, it just starts to drown out. So, I mean, as you can see, I mean, it's just doesn't seem that powerful enough for when you're using it in like a crowd or such. And I went through the documentation in the NJM. This is the actual NJM 386, and I read the output power under Note 2, and I fit the specifications with their test conditions that I'm using a 9-volt battery. My resistance, my impedance of my speaker is 16 ohms, and it says right here that the typical output power is 500 milliwatts, and my speaker is 0.25 watts. So I just assume that I'm needing just to buy a higher powered speaker to get more power, because whenever I turn it up even louder, it starts to clip. As you can hear, it starts to clip and just like flatten out. So I'm not quite sure if it's the actual speaker, but I do have good hunch that it is. I also went back, and the first time I built this, I used this capacitor right here, which is on the output from the 386. The first capacitor I used was a 10-volt, 330 microfarad electrolyte, and after a while, I found that it just died because the the voltage spikes going through it and back from the speaker and such were just killing it, since it's only meant to run on 10 volts at max, and I'm using 9, so with a speaker, an electromechanical output load, pumping out all those voltage spikes. But I switched that out about a week ago with a 35 volt 220 microfarad capacitor, which is what is shown as the recommended capacitor for the output. And I had assumed earlier that if I had used a 330 microfarad cap, that I would have been able to achieve a higher power output due to it being able to hold a longer charge, so it puts less strain on the 386 as compared with a 220 microfarad. But I really haven't made that much progress in finding out the source of that, although I still have good reason to believe that I just need to get a higher power speaker. So what I did is I went with my multimeter and read the overall current being used by the 386, and the 386 uses at maximum 8 mA or 8 milliamps of operating current, but all the time I've just found it to be at 3 milliamps. So when you subtract, this is the max output current output I got from the 386 is 56.8 milliamps. So when you subtract that with the usual 3 milliamps, I get 53.8 milliamps, and then I multiply that by 9, so I get 484 milliwatts. So yeah, I have I just assume that this speaker is not powerful enough since it's only 0.25 watts, and that's the reason why it's clipping. But if you guys can just confirm this with me, as the 386, I've been looking through it over and over again, but haven't really looked through it that much. But here's my circuit right here. Just focus on this portion right here. There's the speaker. There's C3, which is the 220 microfarad cap, and there's C4, which I'm going to add on, which is the bypass capacitor. And I'm not sure what the bypass capacitor does, but I think it's just for taking more strain off the 386 by giving it some backup current or something like that. And then R3, that's the potentiometer I have right here, which is used as the volume control for the coming in from the iPod or whatever else being pumped into the 386. And then R1 and R2, I put those in there because the headphone jack, I wired it up to the left and right because it's a stereo jack, and I wanted to make that into a mono signal. So I used those two resistors to just combine the signal, and if I had just done it by just regular wire, that would have killed the iPod because the current would be going back and forth between the left and right output since it's an AC signal. So, you know, that would definitely kill the iPod. But if you guys can just help me out here, that'd be great, just by confirming this with me, because earlier I've been having some problems, and I actually got pissed earlier because I realized one of my other nickel metal hydride energizers was just, I thought it was good voltage, because it was good on voltage and charge because I had just charged it about a day ago and I haven't used it since. But then I measured it just a few minutes ago and the voltage was 4 volts. And while I was running that with the 386, I was getting really crappy sound and just really puny voltage output and power output coming to the speaker. So I was going left and right thinking it was the capacitor or the speaker that had shorted out, and I was really worried about that. So yeah, if you guys can once again just confirm this with me that I need a higher power output speaker, that'd be great. So yeah, thanks again for watching.